Hey, it's Ubu, and today we're playing the demo for a game called Vermilion Arcade Horror Collection. It's developed by Vitus Games, and they recently commented on one of my latest videos asking me to check this out, so I figured I would. It was going to come later down the pipeline, but I had some things lined up that didn't quite work out, unfortunately, so here we are today checking this out. Thank you for asking me to play your game, and I appreciate the opportunity. If you're not familiar with my channel, at the end of the video, I'll review the game, share my general thoughts, give it my final judgment, and I will have timestamps in the description. Now let me tell you about the game and we'll get started. Vermilion Arcade welcomes you to play horror games, explore stories, secrets, and characters living inside the Red Arcade. The arcade machines hold unique and scary horror games for you to play, each continuing the story of the Vermilion Arcade itself, and giving you more activities and access to the rest of the world. The characters living inside the arcade need your help and offer rewards for your trouble. The gameplay lets you talk to creatures, complete their quests, get rewards for your character, for the arcade, for your in-game controller, and much more. The arcade machines themselves offer very unique experiences, from sleepless experiment stories to a surreal house devouring people that live in it, to descending into the Earth's core to find out why people are turning into spiders. Each game not only telling its own story, but also giving you different tools and gameplay elements. Now that you know what the game is about, we'll go ahead and get started, but one more thing before we do. We just hit 700 subscribers on the channel, and I want to say I greatly appreciate you all joining us here, and thank you for your support. I'm very grateful. Thank you very much. Now we'll go ahead and hit play and see what's up, so we'll play a game. Okay, here we are. Whoa. Very red. It is called the Red Arcade, after all. This is bloody. The Vermilion Arcade is almost ready. Continue. 8 horror games. You're early. Yeah. There's a new demo for Insomnis experiment you can play. Try that one for me, would you? I feel fear. As that game is being built up, I've been hearing voices coming from that arcade machine. They sound old and alive. I'll be waiting for you here when the arcade is complete. You'll have a glass of red wine and discuss your time in those machines. Till that day comes, be careful with those voices. Alright, brother. You got it. Well, that's a very extravagant lighting arrangement. What are these things on the wall? Plants? Huh. Okay. Well, this is where we started. Whoa. So these look like paintings, almost. So we have bloody and you have demon. And then this really creepy looking thing, whatever that is. Nice. Kind of wanted to look around some, if it lets us. I don't know if it will, but... Nope. Alright. Let's look in here real quick. Uh-oh. Giant mushrooms. Can we activate that? Whatever that is? No. The pit. The dreaded pit. Oh, here's Demon. Hey, buddy. Hi, friend. Did you bring me something? This is a beautiful spot, as you can see, but my shop isn't open yet. I am Demon. Yeah, I can see that. Be sure to come back soon and bring something valuable with you. Okay, buddy. Whatever you say. Oh. I didn't notice those things there. I don't even know what those were. It's oddly dark in here. Like, the contrast is kind of off a little bit. Oh, light popped on in there. Nice. This is a demo, so, I mean, keep that in mind. Bunch of chess pieces hanging around. These are arcade machines. These look really cool. I mean, I like the neon highlight they have. Anyways, Insomnis experiment. Why does it sound so familiar? Okay, Insomnis experiment. Inspired by the Russian sleep experiment creepypasta, researchers in the late 1940s kept 5 people awake for 15 days using an experimental gas-based stimulant. Explore the facility and find out what happened and what remains there. Keep cutting. Alright, start. Whoa. Whoa, look at that font. It's like a metal band font. Inspired by the Russian sleep experiment creepypasta. Flashing lights warning, flashing lights warning. Russian researchers in the late 1940s kept 5 people awake for 15 days using an experimental gas-based stimulant. Yes, we just read that. Okay. Black and white. Pretty cool. Pretty smooth. Jeez, what is that? Creepy eyes. Those eyes kind of remind me of like the Mandela catalog. What's that called? You know, those that weird analog horror stuff that was going on for a while. Somebody's yelling. Rawr. That was pretty weird. I feel like this game is kind of quiet, which is weird. Usually when I play games, they're really loud, just in general, but maybe I'll turn it up on my end so I can get really scared. Another weird photo. Doctor.
We kept them for 15 days, breathing that gas. Awake.
Right. I didn't expect voice acting. That was pretty good. We kept him awake for 15 days. Oh.
After 5 days without sleep, the paranoia started to kick in. The test subjects stopped talking to each other. They whispered to us.
To each other. Whispered. Yep, 5 days. That's... Oh. There was something in the door and it moved. I don't know what it was. Excuse me? Sound like somebody gasping. Sharp inhale. Ooh. Who's creeping? Who's creeping around the corner? Who's that? This must be where they kept them. These beds in here. Bit of an odd facility. This is like carved through the rock. Really interesting music.
After 9 days, one test subject started screaming until his vocal cords broke. Then another one did the same. And then the screaming stopped, as well as the whispers.
Man, this is really eerie, actually. Droning ambience. Okay. Oh man, we're going way down. I can't sprint, by the way, if you were wondering. I always try to inform my viewers. Why is he going so slow? Because I have to. I mean, I wouldn't want to be, like, rushing through this anyways. This is...
We are inside, always waiting, watching, seeking your eyes and not close to stay open. One more thing to do, one less moment of sleep. Clock reset, start waiting again. Fall asleep, lose yourself, find what lies beneath the surface. Ready, waiting to swallow you all until there's nothing. But at that moment is everything. Keep your eyes open. If they don't close, they can't stop you. The true strength you have lying dormant, your wasted potential, your unused life that toils away, falling into a spiral that will be death. You can't stop them. They will find you. There is no way to outrun them. And now they have found the foothold. They are coming. The monsters are waking.
Okay. That was an interesting series of sentences. The monsters are waking. Alright. The radio box here, or whatever you want to call this, recorder.
After 3 more days, we couldn't see what was inside the room. The test subjects weren't making any sounds either, but we knew they were inside, according to how much oxygen was being consumed.
Hmm. Alright. I don't think this experiment worked out very well. Just a guess. This is weird looking. Okay. Can't interact with that. What's in there? I've been trying to work on the quality of my videos lately, so hope this one looks good today. I forgot to mention that earlier. Nurse.
The doctor announced that they will open the chamber to test the microphones, that the people inside need to get on the ground or they will be shot. Then we heard a whisper.
We no longer want to be freed.
Oh no, are these... Oh gosh. Is this the gas? What's going on? We no longer want to be freed. Like they're in a flow state. Oh. Oh no. We're running now. Oh no, oh no, oh no.
The test subject had his abdominal organs removed. The doctor was cutting and trying to place the organs back. They were not people anymore. They ate their own flesh, ripped their own organs out. I looked at his eyes and his mouth curled into a smile.
Jeez, dude, this is crazy. Oh my gosh.
I must remain awake.
Like they evolved or something. I don't even know how to describe this. Turned into some kind of horrible monster. We're hiding. Okay. We're hiding in a dark closet with a bright flashlight sticking out, or whatever this is. It's so dark, I can't see. Or like it's bright. I don't know. I have the option to leave now. I guess I have to. I would prefer not to, but oh, this is different. It's changed.
Have you forgot so easily? We are you. We are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free at every moment in your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from in your beds every night. We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis when you go to the nocturnal haven where we cannot tread.
Keep cutting.
All right. That's pretty cool, actually. Nice try. You didn't scare me, but
How's his heart still beating?
pretty close.
Inject him with another morphine dose.
Now, oh no, now we're a subject. Or are we the monster?
Somebody, get me another scalpel. This one broke too. And damn it, turn the light on.
Okay. Sorry, I was thinking about like what's really going on here, so. Anyways. I assume we're that monster thing now. The big creepy face. Let's see. It's pretty crazy dark. It looked like we picked up a flashlight.
Please turn the gas on. For the love of God, turn it back on. I'll do anything. Please. I'll do anything. I swear. Turn the gas on.
Bro, this is crazy. The ambience in here is so heavy now. Gosh. Holy.
Stay away. You disobeyed your orders. Stay back. I'll shoot. Who are you people? This is impossible. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Gee, that was so intense. Well, the game's not quiet anymore. I think the soldier had something. What did he have? Oh, keys. I can't see. I can't barely hear either. It's so loud. This must be the screaming they were talking about. Okay. Cool. We made it through. Flashing lights, warning. Okay, gosh. I need to turn the gas on. I can do that. This game took
He's completely bled out.
turn
How's his heart still beating?
because he's insane. He's freaking awesome.
Inject him with another morphine dose.
Dose.
That's 10 doses. It's impossible he's still awake.
He's transcended beyond this realm. He does not need sleep.
More.
I don't know what to say.
This isn't real. They can't possibly be alive. Don't look at me. No. Stop cutting them. No more gas. Make it stop. Make it stop. Don't look at me.
Where do I go? I can't see. There we go. Oh my gosh. I didn't do that. It turned on its own. I wish it was on the whole time. Ew. What happened in here? Gosh. What was that? Like somebody's head, like...
I don't want my organs to be put back inside of me. I want more gas. Turn on the gas.
Alright, buddy, I'm working on that. And I'm gonna get there eventually. I think. Good God. Oh, it's kind of like those pictures we were looking at earlier. Whoa. That looked awesome. We turned the gas on. Heck yeah, brother.
Don't look at me. Don't cut them. Don't stop cutting. Turn the gas on. I must remain awake.
Turn the gas on. Keep cutting. Keep cutting. I must remain awake.
All right. Man, that's creepy.
I must remain awake. Finally free.
Honestly, I thought that was the end. We can't go in there. Okay. I guess we go back this way. Wow. Vermilion Arcade Horror Collection. Thank you for playing the demo. You're welcome. If you enjoyed the sneak peek at Insomnis Experiment, please take a look at our Steam page and consider wishlisting the full collection. Thank you very much for your support. Alright, well I'm back on the main menu now, where I will review this game. If you're just here for the gameplay, I appreciate you hanging out and I hope to see you again. So, I don't know really how to approach this, because the game itself is like hosting other games. I'll just review the game I experienced today. I think that's fair. I will talk about the hub world as well going into this, but as always I start with visuals, so we're going to talk about that first. So visually, the hub world is pretty cool. I like the red aesthetic and the neon lights, and it's just very odd appearance. I think obviously this being a demo, I am keeping that in mind. There's, obviously room for improvement and all these things I'll talk about, but even as we're sitting on the main menu, you can tell there's a lot of jaggedness happening, especially around the arcade machines. It's almost like the anti-aliasing isn't correct, or it's just not in the game or something. These jagged lines around the arcade machines are causing them to almost like flicker. There's some of that happening on the corner of the screen as well. I don't think that's intended, so hopefully that can be improved to make everything look a little bit more sleek and consistent throughout. Aside from that, the hub world I think is cool, like I said. Obviously, as we play more of these games and play, I guess, the full game, you'll get to see more characters and I guess maybe collect their portraits or something like that in that starting area. And I think that'll be a really cool way to sort of have like a meta game that you're playing as you're playing the actual games on the arcade machines. You come back into this hub world and you can see it change potentially and things like that. And I think that's definitely a really interesting approach. I think what stands out to me the most is just its use of color, but I think the contrast is a little skewed in the wrong direction. It's a little too dark where it's dark. I wish it was maybe, brightened up a little bit. You have all these neon lights everywhere, but then you have these like crazy, like crushed dark shadows everywhere. And I don't know, I think I would like to maybe just see it a little bit more clearly, give it maybe a different dimension in that way. Obviously, if that's what you're going for, if you want it to look that way on purpose, I think that's fine. I think you could probably maybe experiment a little bit with its lighting and just see how that goes. And I'm talking about the hub world specifically. I think the two characters we came across have unique appearances. They're very strange looking. I like that the text is easy to read when we're speaking to them, so I appreciate that. So overall, visually for the hub world, I would say it's pretty cool and pretty well put together. I think it could use some fine tuning, like I said, especially regarding the sort of jittery jaggedness of some of the details throughout. And obviously, like I said, I think maybe the shadows are just a little bit too dark. Now, for the game itself that we played, Insomnis Experiment, if I have that name correct, I quite liked that game's visual presentation. I like the black and white aesthetic. I like that the monster people things and how they looked. They were very eerie. I've seen that picture before, obviously, I'm sure from the creepypasta of the thing kind of looking over its shoulder and grinning at you, and you can only really see like, sort of like the shine of his eyes. You don't see like the full detail of his face. I like how that looked a lot. That is one of my favorite images in horror. It looks super cool, really eerie and unsettling. Just the overall visual presentation of the game itself, I think, is pretty solid. It's also maybe a little too dark, but I can see how that's maybe more appropriate in that setting, being black and white, being in this horrific setting with these creature people screaming and all this terrible experimentation going on. I think it matches a lot better compared to the hub world. Like I said, the hub world is bright red, has red lights, has neon lights everywhere. So the fact that it's so dark in some places, I don't think is congruent with its visual presentation. However, in Insomnis Experiment, I think it makes a lot more sense in that setting. I don't really have much else to say about the visual presentation of Insomnis Experiment. I think it's solid in general. There's not much else to say about it. It's dark, it's spooky, it's weird. The environment's kind of look the same throughout. It's sort of just a maze-like laboratory sort of setting. And I think what stands out to me the most is just the monster design and the way the characters look throughout. I thought that was pretty cool. One nitpick I forgot to mention regarding Insomnis Experiment is the flashing lights are a little extreme. And I think that would be more acceptable if you gave some kind of flashing lights warning. Maybe I missed it somewhere. That is possible, but I would make it very apparent that going into this game that there is a flashing light warning for the viewer, and I think that would be very welcomed. I don't know if the flashing lights really need to be that extreme in the first place, especially towards the end when we turn the gas back on and it's showing the person sitting in the bed and they're looking at us. It's kind of crazy how flashy all those lights are. I can understand if that's how you want the game to be presented. That's totally fine. It's your vision, but at the same time, I think it's a little intense. And like I said, it probably wouldn't be so bad if it just had a warning. That's really all I have to say about the visuals, so we're going to go on to the audio now. I would say the audio in the game is pretty solid in general. The hub world itself is pretty basic. It has, I think, some ambience, sort of like the ambience here in the main menu, which I like. It sets the tone pretty well, I would say. It's very ominous and mysterious, and it's just kind of weird in a good way. There's a little bit of noise when we click continue in the dialogue talking to the NPCs. I think that's fine. Aside from that, there's not a lot of audio in the hub world that stands out to me, at least not yet, just from what I experienced today. Very basic, and I think that's fine. Now, actually, in the game Insomnis Experiment, the sound design, I would say, is pretty solid for the most part. I really like its ambience, its dreadful sort of atmosphere and tone that's built throughout. The whispering and the talking and all of that, I think, is really effective. I think as we continued on, it became ever so increasingly loud with all the yelling and screaming, and the voice acting itself was much louder than it was early on. Now, if it's like a creative decision to make it feel that much more chaotic and unsettling, then I totally understand that. I wish maybe it was balanced a little bit more compared to the early recordings of the Doctor that we listened to, because towards the end it's just like crazy loud, which in some ways works really well, especially with all the yelling and screaming, which is alluded to earlier on, talking about the screaming, they just keep screaming, and then, you know, we get to experience that ourselves later on. So I think there's a nice dynamic there and correlation to the earlier, you know, recordings, but after a while it just kind of loses its charm. It kind of breaks the tension in I think a negative way. I didn't mind sort of the abrupt jump scare that happened after the woman and the girl were talking and whispering to us about like what they were, like everything we fear and all this stuff, and then that creature walks out, boom, gets us with this nice jump scare. I thought that was timed well. I liked how it was fit into the overall experience, and I think it looked really good and it sounded really good. Then as you continue on to turn the gas on, it's just like noise and noise and noise and noise, and I feel like that sort of makes the rest of the experience feel kind of flat in its overall tension and its feeling. But like I said, if that's what you're going for, I totally respect it. I just think from my point of view, I had a really nice build up and a nice payoff with the jump scare, and then from then on it stayed very linear in its tension and its atmosphere, and that made the sequence after you turn the gas on, there's a sequence of the guy sitting there like talking to us about like keep cutting and all this stuff. That part was really cool, but like I said, at that point of the game, it had nowhere else to really go in terms of the feeling, at least for me. So I feel like that could have been balanced a little bit better, but I still really enjoyed the audio design in general. I liked what you were going for, but like I said, I think could have been a little bit more balanced in its volume and also its presentation and timing throughout our experience. It's one of those things where it's just from my point of view, like I said, it had a really nice payoff, and then I feel like it just couldn't go anywhere else for me. Now, an experience like this, obviously, it's very subjective, but I feel like if you were to have carried that tension and silence and mystery just a little bit further towards the end and then hit us with the chaos, I think it would have been that much more effective. But still, pretty solid audio design across the board, so great job with that. Now, in terms of mechanics, I like the idea of exploring this hub world, as I keep calling it, overworld, whatever you want to call it. This arcade, we get to experience different NPCs, eventually giving us objectives or goals to achieve while playing these actual, you know, little games inside the game, the arcade. And I like that dynamic. I like the idea of that. It's like you go into something, a game of whatever subject matter it may be, just like the game we played, and then you come back out. But I didn't notice that we actually got anything or achieved anything from playing the first game. Obviously, this is a demo, so I'm sure they're working on presenting all of that in the full game. You know, I respect you not wanting to give too much away, but, you know, it's like the demon said. He said, you know, you got to bring me valuable stuff, and then I'll open my shop or something like that. So I like having this sort of meta game, like I said, where it doesn't just feel like you're playing a bunch of random games and then you're done. You get to play these games and then apply them to something else. And I think that's really cool, either items or objects or treasures or something we find in these games. Maybe I missed something playing the first game here today, but I still really like the idea of that. I think it's got a lot of potential. It has this anthology feeling while also having this core concept in the forefront. And I think that's really cool. Mechanically, in the hub world, like I said, you're going to just be talking to NPCs and doing all that. I think that's great. I don't have much more to say about it because we didn't really get to apply what we can expect in the full game quite yet, so that's really all I have to say about that. But for the Insomnis experiment, the mechanics of that game, it's pretty straightforward. It's mostly a walking simulator where you're just sort of walking from point A to point B to point C until things happen or trigger or sequence, and then you get told to either, collect a key or whatever, and then you continue on until the very end. I think that worked really well. I could probably describe that a little better, sorry, but you mostly walk around early on listening to recordings, and then you experience these terrors and this horrible experiment, learn more about what's going on, and almost become a part of the experiment itself, changing perspectives and whatnot. I think it worked really well. I like horror games every once in a while that are based on the idea of just sort of experiencing an event rather than doing a bunch of objectives or exploring the back rooms for 2 hours or something. I like something that's very simple and to the point and knows what it wants to do and what it wants you to experience, and all you have to do is just walk through it. And I think that can work really well, and in this instance it worked really well. So great job with that. Mechanically, I have really no complaints with Insomnis Experiment at all. It's pretty straightforward and I appreciate the experience. Now, in terms of story and concept, I'm not really sure much of a story going on quite yet, at least in the hub world, the overworld, and the arcade, but I like what they're going for. I think it could probably have some potential story later down the road. I don't want to assume too much, but maybe the more characters we interact with, the more they give us quests and objectives or a purpose to explore these other games, I think it'll all come together pretty well. Now, the story of Insomnis Experiment, like it said, is based off of the Russian sleep experiments, creepypasta sort of thing. I think a lot of people are already pretty familiar with that. I'm somewhat familiar with it. I've just heard of it like years ago, and I like the story itself. It's pretty straightforward, so I don't really have much to say about it. It's just this terrible experiment, or at least a retelling or reimagining of maybe how those experiments could have been like in a more horror-centric point of view, with them, turning into the monsters, and how these experiments can really negatively influence people, but like on a grand scale, very embellished sort of experience. And I like what they were going for in the game, the story of the experiment itself, how it affected the people, them screaming and tearing out their own organs, and all of that being described to us throughout the game was really interesting. Sorry, I just hit my mic. And hearing the recordings of how they described all of this, the doctor and the nurse, I thought was really engaging and also just very disturbing. So I would say a pretty great job with the story. And the overall concept of the Vermilion Arcade itself, I think, is great. I like the idea of, like I said, having this almost anthology experience, all of these different games we're going to get to play, but also coming back into the arcade and applying what we've either learned or collected and achieved to satisfy these NPCs' quests or requests or whatever they want us to do for them. Whatever our main goal is, I'm not sure, but the concept itself, I think, is really solid. It has a lot of potential, and I'm really just excited to see where they're going to go with it. Now, in terms of performance and settings, performance, I'm pretty mixed on. I would say the game performs fine. Like, there's nothing like crazy bad with bugs or glitches or frame drops. There's a couple hiccups here and there when I first entered Insomnis Experiment, but as I play the game, my computer fans, like I usually have been saying lately in my videos, are really struggling and straining with this game. I don't know if it's the engine or something going on here, but it's like kind of cooking my computer a little bit, and I'm not really sure why. Even in the actual game itself, Insomnis Experiment, it would feel like, I would say, looked a little bit more smooth in its appearance and the way it functioned, but I don't know. Something really weird going on with my computer or just games in general lately. I don't want to say too much about that because, I mean, it's obviously very subjective based on who's playing the game. They might not have the same problem I am, so like I said, I have tried to remind us that this is a demo, so it has a lot of potential to be improved. I just wish it didn't put so much strain on my computer, but aside from that, I would say it performed pretty well. Now, I'll also talk about options during this segment. It's pretty basic. You have your resolution, your full screen, and your subtitles. I kind of wish I could see a little bit more added to options in the future. Also, it being presented a little bit more appropriately. Just having this little sub menu here, I don't think it looks very good personally, but this is a demo, obviously, like I've said many times. I would like to see some maybe graphics presets or even being able to adjust things accordingly, like shadows, illumination, things like that, individually. I think that would be a welcome sight. Also adjusting the volume individually with, master volume, effects volume, and music volume. that would also be welcomed. Hopefully going forward into the full game, you can add a myriad of options, or at least a few more, maybe VSync, FPS caps, things like that. I think that would go a long way in this game personally, so hopefully you can work on that if you have the time, or even if you want to. That's all up to you. I just figured I'd share my perspective on that. So my final judgment for Vermilion Arcade Horror Collection is, I would say it's okay. I really like the overall presentation of this game. While I do think it needs some fine-tuning in a lot of ways, especially its presentation of the arcade with its shadows and its jagged sort of jittery appearance, I still think it has a lot of potential. I really like the overall concept of this game, and the game itself, Insomnis Experiment, I think it was an enjoyable time. Like I said, obviously I acknowledge that this is a demo, so I appreciate what you've done so far with this. Like I've said, with some of the nitpicks and overall critique I have of the demo, while it being a pretty solid first impression, I think could probably use a little bit more fine-tuning going forward. It has really good bones, and I can tell you put a lot of effort into this. Obviously it's well crafted in a lot of ways. I just think from my personal perspective it needs a lot more work going forward, especially considering that there's going to be so many more games to play in this, and I think the overall experience needs to be definitely smooth and concise, and I think what you got going on here is definitely a good start. But that's just how I do things on my channel. I'm just telling you how I feel based on my personal experience, and I think you're going to do just fine with this, so don't let my review get you overthinking anything or anything like that. Just keep to your vision, and I respect your philosophy on what you're doing here and your approach, but always just tell it how it is. Thanks again for asking me to play your demo. There's another one you wanted me to check out, which I'll get to here real soon. Feel free to reach out again in the future if you'd like. You know how to reach me, and I wish you the best of luck on your future endeavors and your work. Tell me what you think in the comments below. What are your thoughts on this game? Do you agree or disagree with me? Do you have anything to add? You just want to say hi? Let me know what's up. And don't forget to check the pinned comment below for the links to everything, and go play this game for yourself and form your own opinion. I'm sure the developers would really appreciate your feedback as well as mine. Also, if you'd like to support my channel, hit subscribe, leave a like, comment, and share the video. I'd greatly appreciate that. And I'll also have links to my socials in the description if that interests you. And I thank you for watching my video. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I think that's all I have to say about it. So thanks for hanging out with me, but don't forget,